Okay, this week it's Parshas
Vayakhel-Pekudai.
and Pekudai, and I'll focus on both of them. And basically, they're a repetition of the details of the Mishkan and the details of the Big Day Kahuna, what the Kohen wore, and of the sanctuary, all the little things. Now we say, what's so important about details, right? So someone sent me an email, but I never got it. Because silly, they didn't put that little dot. They wrote Esti Stahler at gmail.com. And they say, what's so important about the dot? It's all in the details. As a matter of fact, my grandchildren called from Israel today. We had to show them the snow, and we did. And then I took out this, and I said, well, this is snow. Does everyone see the snow here? It's white, right? It's soft, boom. It falls nicely. Little. The only thing is, it's styrofoam. So the little things matter. Snow, styrofoam, it may look like it may even feel like it, but the details matter. And when does it matter the most? When you love someone, when you care someone, when it's important. That's why it was so important that Bnei Israel did the Mishkan just the way they were supposed to. It says, at the beginning it says, Va'asita, this is how you should do it. And at the end it uses the word Va'asu. They did it just as they were supposed to. So that's what they get a lot of credit for. Now let me just show you a little typical Mishkan. This isn't quite what it was, but it was a dwelling place for Hashem. Now when the time came to build it, of course they said, bring forth all your jewelry and make contributions. So the men, some were reluctant and some were willing. But of course the women, we always have something up our sleeves, as you see. And there it was. They were very forthcoming, extremely forthcoming, off their ears, off their this. And the men not. And that's why it uses the term, even though they might have had some difficulty, it never ends with women, right? On and on and on the jewelry goes. But it says, that's why it says, Nashim al Hanashim. So it either means that the women came with the men, or they were superior in their attitude about giving. And 3 times the women came out ahead, so to speak. Once in Mitzrayim with the kiyar, with the mirrors. The men were very despondent and discouraged. They didn't want to have children. They said, what's the use of bringing forth children? Power will destroy them. But luckily, the women came, or blessedly the women came, and they used their mirrors, and they went out to the fields, and they enticed the men by looking in the mirrors and doing whatever they could, and then they proceeded to have families. Again, with Chet HaEgel, who were the heroines? The women. Once again, they had faith. They believed that Moshe would be back, and they were not willing to give their jewelry to make it. And finally, when it came to the Mishkan, again, they were the most forthcoming, and they were the one who believed. So in that schus, we have the miracle, and we have the idea, the concept of Rosh Chodesh. That was the women's reward for not participating in the chata'im, in the sins, and being very forthcoming when it came to bringing stuff for the Mishkan. As a matter of fact, there was so much. But what did it come from? It came from a place of wanting to give and wanting, yearning to be part of it. So the reward that we get is Rosh Chodesh, which means we have renewal. And I just went to a class with Tiliega, and she brought out from Rav Pinchas that one of the most important things about Pesach is the concept of renewal. Slave, a time is not their own, but once you're freed, it is your own. And the concept of being able to begin every day, whether it's a diet, whether it's the way you speak, whether it's the way you interact with people, that is a bracha, and we are entitled to that. That's Rosh Chodesh, and it's from Chodesh, it's from Chadash, new, everything is new. And Moshe came, and he said he was very disappointed the Nesiim, Hashem was disappointed the Nesiim were not among the first to give. They said, we'll wait, and we'll see what's missing. But sometimes it's not about what you bring, it's the concept of giving. The giving does more to benefit the person giving than it does, and we know that very often in love, the word ahava, it's very often about our giving. When we give, it's much more important. And of course it starts out, the parsha starts out with the Mishkan, but this time it starts out with Shabbos. In the last parsha we had the Mishkan, and then the concept of Shabbos. Here we have Shabbos first, because Shabbos in a sense precedes the Mishkan, even though when it comes to work, and how God created the world, it was first he had to create, then he rested, as the concept of Shabbos is rest. But in this parsha, we think of Shabbos more as a spiritual time, a time of renewal, to help us going forward to the days ahead. So that's why the Shabbos, the sense of learning and yearning and growing spiritually, will help us go into the days ahead. Now it also says, Yehi Ratzon, it shall be your will, that the Shekhinah shall dwell. Why does it say your will? because it's our will. It didn't mean Hashem's will necessarily. It says Yehi Ratzon, that it should be our will. It should be our will that we should want to connect with Hashem. That's why we give the half shekel, because the half shekel came from everyone, and it went for the foundation of the Mishkan. Every other kind of gift, it was according to how much you gave, and it was according to your attitude and feelings, but the most important thing was the foundation, which got the half shekel. Also, the concept of Shabbos and Mishkan, what's the difference? Shabbos sanctifies time, but you could do it anywhere, right? Mishkan sanctifies space, the connection, but only in that one place, but you could do it any time. So the concept of Mishkan and Shabbos gives us the ability to connect both in time and in space with Hashem, and that's very important. And then they talk about Bezalel, and he had a good name, and it says, Tov, Shem, Shem and Tov, right? And what is so important about a good name? They said Bezalel was Zocher. He had a good name. And it says that even, and then right next to it, it talks about shatnez, that even if you have 99 layers of clothing on, it's the 100th layer is shatnez. You can't have it, even though individually you can have these two things, the linen and the wool, but together. So why is that? And how does it relate to a good name? Because you have to even avoid the even slightest impropriety, the slightest sense that it's not perfect. And even if it's on the 100th layer, that far away, it's not good. So he was literally above reproach. His name was so pure, and that's why he was zocheh to do it. And he also had the ability, which is very important, to be able to share the stage. He wasn't just Bezalel alone who did it. It was with Oholiav from Shevet Dan, the highest Shevet, so to speak, in some sense, and the lowest Shevet. So this sense of not needing all the credit, of doing it l'shem shamayim for the right purpose was very important. And I just want to end off by saying that the women were zocheh for the jewelry that they gave, for the mirrors that they did, for the renewal that they did. And very important, as we see here, they weren't trained artisans who built the Mishkan. They couldn't have, they were Mitzrayim, they weren't architects, but they had the desire. They say a lot of times it's the perspiration more than the inspiration. It's 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. And they said that even the Reichmans, there's a story that when they first started out, they were really sellers of housewares, things, tiles, whatever, and they needed a warehouse. And they went to someone, and someone said they could do it for, let's say, $100,000. And then they were thinking, you know what? We could do it better, we could try harder, we could do it more, and they built it for under. And all of a sudden they said, well, if we could build this one thing and do this bit of real estate, they went on and on. So it just shows that really it's about the desire. And because they had the desire to make it the right way, and because they had the desire to give, it's about the desire to do the right thing. It's about the parsha that we ourselves, each one of us, our Mishkan, each one of us, our little house, and pay attention to the details, because that's what connects us, and feel connected to Hashem. And if you have any good jewelry, you don't need it. Hey, you know where to come.